Experience been with AEW working backstage?
I really haven't had a lot to do with AEW as far as nuts and bolts. I've just kind of been talent so far, which has been awesome.
Yeah.
The fans are as good as you get. They are so in tune to the product. I'm just, Jesus Christ, guys, I'm 61 years old. To be able to even walk through the locker room with these kids and them even know who I am is pretty flattering.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
That's amazing.
You mentioned working with the talent. Has there been any standout young talent that you've been surprised by?
I'm just getting used to all those guys. I haven't had a chance to see them perform a lot. MJF, is that the right letters?
Yeah, that's right.
Is a real asshole. Now, I'm pretty good in the locker room about jousting. I'm pretty renowned about getting the last word pretty quickly. I don't know if I want to get in a verbal joust with that kid. He's a major league smartass.
Oh, it's a tough go.
Oh my God.
You said some great things about Luke Harper in the past. What about him makes him stand? What about him stands out to you? And do you agree with the notion that he's underutilized in WWE?
Well, and a lot of guys wonder why I pick out Luke. Luke Harper, guys, is about 6'4". He was about 300 pounds. He's trimmed down probably, I would say, to 250. His thought process before he goes to the ring, his planning, his ability to go out and whatever, if he has a lesser opponent, to be dominant. If he has an opponent of equal value, he knows how to get that guy over. He's a throwback to the days when a top heel knew what his job was, and his job was to feature the guy he was in the ring with and make him a star. Luke Harper is one of those guys, and he's big enough and he's rugged enough that he can make you believe anything he wants to. And I just think a guy like that has so much value because he's a big guy that doesn't work like a big guy, if that makes any sense.
Arn, you talked about too on the panel here tonight, and then you talked about in an interview recently about being a shit heel and like how important that is for the business and stuff like that. A lot of the heels coming up, you do see that a lot of cool factor going into play where they try to be the cool guy and stuff like that. How would you find a pretty good balance of that? What would you give them the most important kind of advice when it comes to being the shit heel?
Well, I think Jericho and his crew are going to get there. Jack Swagger is legitimate, fellas. I don't know if he's ever grabbed you, but he's a real deal. And that's their heater. And the deal that he did with Dustin Rhodes, I felt bad for Dustin. You know, that is how you get heat. And that's how you become unlikable. It was cheap shot all the way. I think the one thing that factions especially need to understand is the whole deal is you're a pack of dogs. You're a pack of wolves. One guy may be able to punch all 4 or 5 of you in the mouth once, but the numbers, boom. And no matter who you are, when you see that, you see a guy that's doing pretty good, and then he gets thumped by the numbers, it just leaves a bad taste in your mouth. That bad taste is what sells tickets. It's what the Four Horsemen were. We weren't saying, hey, I would just admit on a promo, hey, let me go ahead and tell you in advance, there's going to be 3 of us, there's going to be 4 of us, or there's going to be 5 of us, and we're all going to be hanging on to you, telling you going in. That's the way it is. That kind of mentality is what makes white hats and black hats. And if you ask me, getting away and having everybody be gray hats is pretty damn boring.
Let's do 2 more, guys.
Arn, we saw you do a spinebuster at AEW and then an independent show. How many spinebusters you got left in you?
I had one with Dolph Ziggler a couple of years ago, plus the 2 you mentioned. My quota is full.
What, are you retiring the spinebuster? You're a spinebuster?
My spinebuster, and everybody says, hey, you do a pretty good spinebuster. Hell, it's my move.
Yeah, no kidding.
I came up with it. That should be the best.
I'm sad to hear you say you're done.
And anytime it's not stellar, it's the other guy's fault.
Oh, man.
So, we're going to rest it a while. Who knows?
Okay.
Can't tell you, that wouldn't be any fun. It's going to be when you least expect it. Okay?
Got it.
So you talked about too, just being on that panel with everybody, like Ronnie and Magnum TA and Lex. How did that feel just to kind of like be on the stage with all those guys again and like it's been mentioned several times too that all you guys were your own unique personality and your own unique individual. How did that feel, just being up there with them and kind of being in that big setting again with all those guys?
Well, it took me back, especially seeing Ronnie Garvin, who I haven't seen in probably 30 years. Magnum was going to be a huge star in the industry before he had his car wreck, guys. Make no mistake, he was heading that way. He wasn't far off, you know, and I loved wrestling him. Lex Luger looked the best of anybody in the business at one time. You know, there was no discounting how good Lex looked. And Lex had a hell of a run in this industry. Ronnie Garvin is a guy that, if I wanted to take this small group and you asked me, you'd never seen a wrestling match before, you said, I want to see what you do. Who would you like your opponent to be? It would be Ronnie Garvin. Because he would beat the ever-loving shit out of you. And if you didn't fight him back, he would eat you alive. So he taught me a lot about taking care of myself in the ring, how to be aggressive. Still might do my job as a heel, but be able to stand in there and trade with a badass. And Ronnie Garvin, make no mistake, don't go by his size, he was a badass. Probably is still a badass.
Absolutely.
Last one, guys.
I wanted to ask you real quick about Jericho. You know, you worked with Jericho at the height of the Attitude Era. You're working with him again now. How do you think he's grown as a performer?
He become very unlikable. Chris Jericho is a guy that has morphed into that lead heel, that champion deal, but he's not trying to be Luke Harper, or he's not trying to be Braun Strowman, or he's not trying to be Roman Reigns or AJ Styles. He's trying to be Chris Jericho, the bubbly, laying in the bathtub, fully dressed, all that stuff. It's perfect for Chris. Chris is now probably looking at what, 25 years in the business?
Yeah.
Is that close? He's learned something from everywhere he's been and everything he's done. And by surrounding himself with those two guys, LAX and Swagger.
And Sammy Guevara.
Sammy Guevara. Now, Sammy's a guy that we've left out, not by design. Let me tell you who Sammy is in my mind. And I have this thing that I look at somebody and I go, that's who he is, or that's who he could be. I got my family out on the deck. We're in Florida somewhere having dinner, and there's the 2 or 3 19-year-olds about 3 tables over that shouldn't be drinking because they're not old enough, and they're getting loud as hell and making me a nervous wreck. That's who Sammy is. Okay?
Fair enough.
And that translates into money if you utilize it. He shouldn't be an ass kicker. He should be a cheap shot artist and use all those skills, but use them from a defensive posture, not so much an offensive posture. Everybody get that?
Yeah, I think so.
Nothing worse than kicking a guy's knee out from under him when you're sitting on your ass begging him not to punch you in the mouth, for lack of a better example. So I think he's surrounded himself with a good crew of guys. They're going to do really, really well, and I'm excited for all the Chris's success and all those guys.
Awesome, guys. Thank you, Arn.
Thank you, Arn.
Okay.